Guys, we just got back from LA. Well, I just got back from LA. 20 years of 10th Planet. We just celebrated over the weekend at HQ. So what a weekend. Definitely want to talk about all the history of 10th Planet from my vantage point, give you guys my perspective on that, and I dive right into it. So, again, let's do the gym updates real quick. So, again, this weekend, today is June, what is it, 14th? On the 17th, we're going to be closed for the day at the school. It's Saturday, except for yoga classes. We got a bunch of competitions on that day. On the June 17th, we got the PKB. Ethan, Ali, Vinny, and Will competing out there. We also have Jiu-Jitsu World League, Steven, Santi, Dennis, Daniel, Johnny, Corbin, Juniper, some of the competitors. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Our very own Mark is going to be competing at BJJ Tour in, where's it at, Mark?
San Jose.
San Jose. Mark's going to be out there representing BJJ Tour. I'm not sure. We might have some other folks from the other 10Ps competing. Good luck to all you guys who are competing out there. And, hopefully you guys kill it out there and have a good time. So, all those who are competing, again, touch base with one of the coaches, figure out who's cornering you, figure out who's going to record your footage as well. Make sure you guys get that tape so I can review it back. I won't be able to be there for everyone's matches, but I definitely like to watch everyone's matches after they finish their competitions and review all the footage with you guys. So definitely looking forward to seeing that. Again, if you guys have any questions, anything you guys need help with, any drills, any specific areas of focus you need help with, let me know. I'll do my best to help you guys out and make sure that we cover those bases for you. And this June 19th, we're going to be closed. It's Juneteenth, so the holiday, we're going to be closed. Don't show up for classes. Don't expect us to be there. No one's going to be there on Monday. So we should have a long weekend ahead of us, and we're going to enjoy that time with family. It is, again, Juneteenth, and we're going to see a lot of people come back into this, the summer. It's getting really nice. The weather's coming out. People are starting to pick up at the gym. Just make sure you guys are continuing to stay with your regimens, making sure that you guys are getting your training in, and we should be able to see a lot of improvements in this summer. Coming up in July, again, we are celebrating as well another anniversary. 10th Planet San Mateo is doing their 9-year anniversary. If you guys are interested, anyone from the 10th Planet Daly City team interested in going out, let me know. I'll send you guys the invite, and you guys can sign up for the celebration there. 9 years of 10th Planet San Mateo. Shout out to Coach Red, Big Red, Adam, and make sure you guys are out there showing your support if you guys can make it. Again, it's going to be on July 16th, and we'll send you the more details about that when we get closer. But like I said, we have a lot of celebrations. We were talking about the 20th anniversary. Before I forget, the UFC. Let's touch base real quick on the UFC. Briefly talk about the main events that I was able to see. I wasn't able to see the full main event, the Amanda Nunes fight versus Aldana. What's Aldana's first name again, Mark?
Irene
Aldana. That one we saw. Definitely domination from Amanda Nunes, expected on my end. And we saw the retirement of debatably one of the greatest female fighters of all time, if not the greatest fighter of the female division of all time. The double champ, the bantamweight and featherweight champion, laid her belts down and was able to call it a day. Going out on a win is always great to see, and I respect it. I think she did the right decision. There wasn't really much left for her at 45 or 35, so I think it was the right decision for her to hang it up and, go out on a win. Mark, you saw the whole fight, right? What were your thoughts on the fight? Just domination from what I heard?
Yeah, pure domination.
Unfortunate for Aldana, but, that's what happens when you fight someone at the caliber and level of Amanda Nunes. We all know her skills over the years, and we know how dominating she's been. You got to anticipate that she was going to be able to go out with the win and go out with her head held high and, call it a career. So forever and for all time, the double champ over there, okay? Undisputed, never been stripped of her belt, and except for one time with Pena, and she was able to get that back, and it was able to retire with both belts. So you love to see that. I don't think any fighter has been able to retire with both belts, from my understanding, not in the UFC. So definitely Nunes is on top with that one. Who else was there? The co-main event. I was able to see that full fight. Man, what a battle between Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush. Man, what a fight. It was 1 round finish by Charles Oliveira. Beneil was definitely putting up a fight, but when it came down to it, Oliveira was able to catch him slipping, able to connect with the punches. It was interesting to see Oliveira still doing the same strategies he's done before, pulling guard, getting into the pressure kind of style that he does, with the striking, and really taking the fight to Beneil. Beneil's tough as nails. We've seen him over the years have a lot of great moments, but I think the hunger that Charles Oliveira had for this to get his belt back, and really the drive he had, was just a lot for Beneil to take. And again, not to say Beneil wasn't hungry himself, but Beneil definitely was shown what it meant to fight a guy like Charles Oliveira, someone who's been around the division so long, who's just so skilled, who's so talented, guy who's already been a champion and really is hungry for more still. So interested to see what's going to happen with Beneil in the next steps. Hopefully he can bounce back quick, but I know they're talking already about Islam and Oliveira running it back for a rematch, and I would love to see that. I think if Oliveira makes some adjustments, he's definitely going to give Islam a run for his money. I wouldn't be surprised to see Oliveira getting that belt back if he does fight Islam again, if he makes the right adjustments and is a little more strategic with his fights. What's your thoughts on the co-main, Mark? Did you think that Oliveira was going to do it, or did you have Beneil?
I had Oliveira on that one, but what an exciting fight. It was a really good one.
Yeah. Beneil, again, got to respect him, but Oliveira, man, hungry, dangerous, and talented. Dangerous combination. There was Mark. I didn't get to see the card. I was at the celebration for the 10P anniversary. Mark, what other fights stuck out to you this weekend?
Mike Malott, the Canadian, he had a really impressive submission victory.
Yep.
It was a high risk guillotine, and I thought he was probably 20% into his finish too, and the guy tapped. So he had much more to go. Me
and Mark are going to watch that after the podcast. I haven't checked that fight out yet, but I was also watching Nate the Train. Unfortunately, he didn't get the win. Who beat him again? It was
50K, Dan Ige.
Dan Ige. That was a tough fight for Nate the Train, but I love Nate the Train. Hopefully he bounces back from that soon. Dan Ige is always dangerous, very, very talented fighter. And there was one more fight on that card, wasn't there? Or did I cover all of them?
It was Eric Anders. I don't know how to say this guy's name, but didn't get to see that one too much.
What was the results?
Decision for Marc-Andre Barriault.
Okay, not bad.
Probably butchering that name.
Man, UFC 289, man. We're going to be on UFC 300 pretty soon. That's going to be crazy. Probably by next year, or at least... or maybe, I don't think they're going to be able to hit 300 this year. I'm pretty sure it's next year. They're planning for UFC 300. And I'm excited for that. So UFC still going at it. There are going to be a lot of events coming up from the UFC, kind of near, and Vettori coming up. We've got, following that, Josh Emmett versus Ilia Topuria. A lot of good fights coming up. So we'll talk more about those as we get closer to them. But today, like I said, I want to talk about the 10P 20-year anniversary. 20 years, of 10th Planet. And again, this was a celebration that we've been planning for a while with the 10th Planet crew. Eddie always wanted to do this as far as the celebration with his black belts, and wanted to bring them all together. Last year we had our first ever black belt invasion over at HQ. That was specifically to bring all the 10th Planet black belts together, or as many as we could, and get together for a celebration. This time we realized how big the association is, and we had to actually do it at another venue instead of packing up HQ and having us all in there like a can of sardines. We had our own venue this time at Loft. I think the Loft Brewery in downtown Los Angeles. And actually that was still pretty packed. It wasn't even like that was spacious. We had over 300 guests coming out. We had really fun time. Eddie came out, Jean-Jacques Machado. We saw Renato Laranja. We saw Brian Callen out there too. It was a really good time. A lot of the 10P legends out there, Gio, Scott Epstein, Joe Rogan was even able to video in and send his regards as well. So it was a good time. So long list of guys who came out and came out to celebrate and showed their support and love for 10P. And I just wanted to talk a little bit today about that history. It's been 20 years. It's been a long time, and you definitely want to kind of review some of the very, very important focal points of the 10th Planet history, so that those who are still new to our system and our team can kind of get a catch up of what's been going on over the last 2 decades. So let's start it back from day one, and even maybe before even day one of 10th Planet, with Eddie Bravo, right? My coach, my professor, my sensei, the guy who started it all. Eddie always loved the martial arts growing up. From his stories that what he's told us all, he grew up wanting to be a Bruce Lee type of character. He always admired that. At the same time, Eddie was a big music fan, and he always wanted to be a musician. So, living in LA, growing up in LA, Eddie Bravo was always the type of guy to follow his passions. He was a very passion-driven dude. He loved the music, he loved the arts, and he wanted to be a producer, or he wanted to start rock bands and everything. But at the same time, he didn't want to be out of shape. He always wanted to be strong, like Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was always physically in shape, always strong, and he was a big fan of Bruce Lee, just like I am, and just like most of us who've done this martial arts lifestyle have been a fan of. Excuse me. So when we talk about the origins, it came down to a young man, a young Mexican dude in LA, just wanting to learn martial arts, stay in shape, and wanting to be a rock star, right? And that's something that I've always admired with Eddie, that he never intended to start this 10th Planet team and this family, but it just kind of fell in his lap, and in the way he's carried it since then has always been at a point of humility, always talking about, he never intended for this massive society and this team to grow to this point, and he's always grateful for that opportunity, and it's just as like I am grateful for being a part of it. When Eddie started, he was definitely looking to be kind of a more of a kung fu type of fighter, because again, talk about Bruce Lee, talk about those movies growing up, Enter the Dragon, Game of Death. Those are the movies that he grew up on, and over time, he was so enamored by the Bruce Lee ethos and the lifestyle and the way Bruce Lee carried himself growing up, along with the whole boxing, culture that came up in that time over in the 70s and 80s, with the big hitters, the Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Julio Cesar Chavez. So Eddie was a big fan of combat sports, martial arts, and music, right? So when it came down to it, Eddie was living in LA. He was a DJ at times. He was working in rock bands, and he was trying to, again, just train to stay in shape, doing his karate and kung fu and doing whatever martial arts he could. Along came in 1993 the first UFC that exposed Eddie to jiu-jitsu. And once Eddie saw the first UFC, he realized, damn, that's what he needs to start getting into. He saw Royce Gracie. He saw this guy grappling. Eddie, also being a grappler in high school, saw it and saw that, hey, he can actually get into the clinch, get into working his grappling and use that for self-defense. He realized that, hey, there's more to this martial arts game than doing the punches and kicks in the Bruce Lee style, that you can actually be effective as a grappler in the sport. So from that point forward, Eddie searched out, looked for a jiu-jitsu academy and found the Machado Academy and found Jean-Jacques Machado and was able to continue his journey learning under Jean-Jacques Machado. With Eddie's skill set, him being naturally flexible guy, being very passionate and dedicated and really putting the time into jiu-jitsu and really just getting obsessed with it. Eddie's that type of guy who just gets really obsessed with things and really wants to dive in deeper with them and really look into it, as you all have seen with his podcasts as well. So Eddie ended up working with Machado obsessively for the years and years, eventually earning, his higher ranking in belts, eventually his black belt, of course. But once Eddie was about a purple belt, Jean-Jacques always says that he started noticing Eddie was at another level of skill and talent and dedication. He was killing guys with his specific type of guard. He was very flexible. Jean-Jacques, again, having no hand and having been born without fingers, was not the type of jiu-jitsu athlete to start focusing on grips, which developed the overhook game, learning how to get the clinches, hooking with the arm instead of the hand and gripping, which developed into Eddie's game, learning how to do the overhooks, learning how to get deep into the clinch, and eventually being perfect aligned with the Nogi style. Jean-Jacques, obviously an ADCC champion who's been around for many years. We've seen him work in the Nogi rule set and being able to work with it very, very effectively. Eddie followed suit. Over the years, Eddie eventually was able to win the ADC trials, I think when he was either a brown or purple belt, and was able to get a free trip to Brazil. And of course, the history of that is known, and everyone saw Eddie tap out Royler Gracie at the ADCC championship. And Royler being the longer reigning ADC champion in that division that Eddie was in, having a brown belt come in to tap a high level dude like Royler Gracie, not even a high level dude, a dude who was born to do this sport, who was raised by the originator Helio Gracie and in the family of the Gracies. To see Eddie do that was such a spectacular event. Even though Eddie didn't win the ADCC event, it was just mind-blowing for everyone in the world. By the time Eddie came back from Brazil, it just blew up. Eddie was able to quit his job at the Man Show and quit his DJing job, and was able to just go full-fledged into teaching. And he started the Bomb Squad back in LA. The Bomb Squad being the first boxing gym he was training jiu-jitsu out of. And, you know, he was able to grow from there. 18 students on his first day. He was there in 2003, and he never looked back. So over the years, in those first early years, Eddie was building the team. He was working with the Bomb Squad. He was moving around gyms, depending, over time, other gyms were moving, and before Eddie had his official location that he has now in downtown LA. But Eddie was all over the place, again, just teaching, trying to do his best to build MMA jiu-jitsu. And that was the initial focus, was for Eddie, since being such a fan of the UFC, and back then not having many no-gi tournaments except for ADCC, his focus was getting jiu-jitsu as best it could be for MMA, working with the no-gi style, working with the clinches, not having grips. And so that developed Eddie into, working really well with the UFC, and obviously he ended up working with the UFC, becoming a commentator, working with them, and working as an analyst, and working in the truck, actually, like showing the tapes in the trucks, showing the videographers where they need to be, showing the camera angles for jiu-jitsu. Specifically jiu-jitsu exchanges when the UFC was still new to this sport. So Eddie, coming up in those early days, was definitely focused highly on the MMA circuit and highly on trying to build MMA champions, thinking that his rubber guard, thinking that his no-gi style was going to be perfect for the MMA game. So the years went along by, and over time he eventually moved into the Legends MMA gym, which was in Hollywood, California, and he was able to collaborate with Chris Riley, a Muay Thai coach, my Muay Thai coach, and was able to start the Legends MMA gym. And that's about when I entered. About 2009 is when I entered. So about 7 years into the 10th Planet system being born, I began training under Eddie Bravo. Again, I began training under Eddie by coincidence and by luck, because I was really training Muay Thai only at that time. And before that time, it was really just me trying to learn the striking. But in the gym in Legends, when I showed up at Legends and when I was living in LA, I was able to see Eddie, and I was able to see, what people were training. And I was really interested and intrigued by the movements he was doing, the fact that it was no gi, and the fact that everyone was telling me, yeah, that's Eddie Bravo, the legend. And I had no context, no understanding of it at the time. I didn't realize the significance of Eddie and what he did for the jiu-jitsu community. I had known what the Gracies were. I've known what jiu-jitsu was, but I didn't realize that, there was more to it than just the Gracies doing it in jiu-jitsu. Eddie Bravo, having just, still have that legendary status after years of him beating Royler Gracie, and seeing that, it was such an amazing experience to know that I was there on an early on stage of the 10th Planet, not even a decade old, and still fairly new. So I began training the 10th Planet system. When I began training the 10th Planet system, it was never an intention for me to get to a black belt level. It was never the intention for me to fight MMA. It was really just out of curiosity and knowing that, hey, this guy is a musician, and he's a martial artist like myself, because I grew up doing music. Also super flexible, and I was pretty flexible, and I'm still pretty flexible to this day. And we kind of lined up. And even back then, me and Eddie even looked the same. He had long hair, I had long hair. And, it would be funny. People would actually mix us up. When I was on the gym, people would think I'm Eddie Bravo. And I was like, no, that's the guy over there, other guy with long hair. And it was just funny to see that those days were really fun. Again, it was just something that I began doing because I thought it was very fun. I thought I was curious about it, and I wanted to get my skills better. I wanted to be a martial artist, and I wanted to learn as many aspects of self-defense that I could. Even back then, Eddie was gracious enough to allow me to train. I was cleaning the mats for him. I was helping him out because I was a young, broke college student who couldn't afford training. But at the gym at the time, I was helping around the gym, cleaning up, running errands, and Eddie, again, let me train there. A year into my training, Eddie saw that how I was being very consistent, and I was moving real well, and he gave me my blue belt, to my big surprise. I never thought he would even rank me, obviously, because I wasn't paying membership and I wasn't being there consistently. So me getting that blue belt ranking from Eddie in 2010 was huge for me, because it really showed me Eddie's character, showed me what he was really about. He wasn't in this for the money. He wasn't in this for trying to just get guys to pay memberships. He was in there because he wanted to build good quality grapplers. He loved the sport. He was always big on it, and he was really just a good guy. Eddie's always been a good guy. He's always been super respectful. He's obviously a genius when it comes to the jiu-jitsu aspect of the sport, but never thought like he had an ego, never thought that he was being arrogant, never thought that he was trying to be more than he was. He was always just super humble with the way he approached things. Super funny guy, always had jokes to crack. Oh, loves to talk. Everyone knows Eddie just loves to talk. And like, we'd have so many stories in class. Sometimes we'd be sitting in class for like 30, 40 minutes before we start drilling, and Eddie would just be rambling on. But you had to love it. It was something where, you realize the passion of a guy like that who just continues to be in the mix and starting to always wanting to evolve jiu-jitsu. That was one thing that I noticed with Eddie, is like he never had a system that was staying stagnant. He always wanted to add more. Whenever we're in class, he's like, hey, you across, hey, show me that thing you were doing last week. Show me that thing you learned. Hey, everyone, show me that. Like, and it was a communal effort when we were on the mats. We were all showing things that we had just tried. Like, Eddie, does this work? He's like, oh shit, I don't know. Maybe let's try it. It was always such an open-minded approach to martial arts, which I love and I still use to this day. It's like martial arts is never meant to just be one thing. You never know when you can add an element of, okay, some guy's super flexible, some guy's born without a hand, some guy's born without a foot, whatever the case may be. Let's be able to adjust our martial arts according to where we are in as far as like in time, in society, the resources we have. You can use the all the different tools we have. We had social media, YouTube, we had the ability to travel, to work seminars and all that stuff. So again, that was a big thing for me, is just seeing how open-minded Eddie was and the fact that he was always trying to make the sport grow. And I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be a part of this growth in the 10th Planet community. So fast forward. After 2010, after I got my blue belt, Eddie continued to grow the 10th Planet team. Over time, eventually looking to get his rematch with Royler Gracie. Because it was funny, the years gone by, even a decade later, after the match with Royler Gracie, Eddie was still being called lucky. Like, hey, you were lucky with that first match with Royler. You caught him by surprise with that triangle. It wouldn't happen again. And Royler never really gave the respect that Eddie thought he deserved with that, saying, hey, like he won. He just flat out won. So we all knew that Eddie was skilled and he had really good talent, but again, it was never something that was solidified within the 10th Planet community. And Eddie eventually was able to book the rematch, the Royler Gracie Eddie Bravo rematch number 2. What year was that, Mark? Can you look that up real quick? 2014. So again, about a few years after, and this is about me 5 years into it. I believe I was still a blue belt for 5 years. I was a blue belt for a long time because I was at the time I was still trying to focus on Muay Thai. Even though I had my blue belt, I was still focusing on trying to get my Muay Thai and my competition skills up for my striking. But again, Eddie was hyper focused on trying to grow 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu as a society, as a team, and as getting our name to be respected. And he went on the front line. He went out there and signed up to rematch Royler. And I felt like at the time I was super scared because I was like, dude, he's putting the whole team on the line right now to try to gamble facing Royler again. I was thinking if he had lost, maybe the 10th Planet Society wasn't going to be able to continue to grow, right? And I was just being super naive and paranoid, not believing, unfortunately, in Eddie's skills. Eddie was already probably like 40 something at the time, and it was like long past his prime days. But Eddie put the work in. During his camp, Eddie, even with running an academy, even with having I believe he had maybe like 50 schools at the time, maybe closer to 100. But he had so much on the line with this match, but the belief he had that he could go in there and face Royler and do it again was just something to be astounded by. He never lost faith in it. Jean-Jacques, all his black belts came together, put him through a rigorous camp, made him work his swim sprints, had him rolling hard, had him coming in, doing the drills, doing everything he needed to do, getting in shape. He got in prime shape at that level and was able to meet Royler Gracie at the rematch at Metamoris 3. And Metamoris being one of the biggest tournaments at the time for jiu-jitsu. And I was able to attend. And that was one of the biggest, greatest moments of my life, is getting to see my coach compete on the mat on a big stage. Well, the room, you should have seen the room at the time. We were in there downtown LA. Half the room was Royler, half the room was Eddie and 10th Planet. And we were just going at it. And if you guys watch that match, you'll hear it. You'll hear the group just the ahs, the oohs and ahs, and whenever there's a transition, whenever there's a move. It was such awe-inspiring. Now, as many of you know, that went to a draw, but draw in Metamor's days was obviously because there's no points and it was submission only. But if you watch that match, it's clear as day. Royler was in big trouble, and he was getting caught. He almost let his damn knee break when Eddie went for what we call the vaporizer submission. So I mean, you guys can watch that tape back. You guys can see what happened there. But Eddie definitely dominated the match, even though it was a draw, and the whole world saw it. And I think after that second match of us seeing Royler and Eddie go back at it again, 10th Planet took off to the next level after that. The fact that Eddie was able to go out there, compete, and do his thing, and the world was able to see, the fact that we all knew that had it gone a different, like maybe a no time limit way, I mean, Royler may not be able to walk anymore after this day. So we saw the growth. We saw the exponential growth after that. And I saw it and I was witnessing. I was super, super proud of Eddie. And I was also to the point where I decided, I was saying like, hey, I got to step my game up. I'm looking at my coach like stepping up and taking these big matches and doing this. I began starting to compete in jiu-jitsu, started getting into, because I for the first 5 years of my blue belt, I never competed. Even a white belt, I never competed. I was just got my blue belt because of the consistency of me training. But over the years, seeing Eddie compete, it made me want to compete. So I started entering jiu-jitsu competitions. I started getting my grappling up. And over the years, it just continued. The growth continued. Eddie started moving up. He eventually found his own school at HQ. And his HQ that he's had now for at least, I forgot when he opened HQ, but at least 5-6 years. He's been out there for a long time. And so this was finally his own gym. For growing up, Eddie was always sharing out of other academies, whether it be a boxing, whether it be a Muay Thai, whether it be an MMA school. He was always sharing mat space. But now he's finally got his own space, 10th Planet HQ in downtown LA on Grand Avenue. If you guys know, the entrance and the back door is the way to go. Make sure you guys let me know if you guys are going out to HQ, any of my students. But again, to this day now, we fast forward now and we look at what we have today. 20 years of 10th Planet. 20 years. Eddie just, again, 10 years ago at that, again, remind me the year again, Mark, of Metamoris. It was 2014. 2014. So yeah, it's been almost 10 years since Metamoris as well. Yeah, it was actually funny. Like, I think it was at the 10-year anniversary, Eddie was talking about getting a rematch with Royler, and that was in the works already. So almost 10 years ago when we had that significant moment of Royler Gracie, Eddie Bravo 2. And then, of course, over the years after that, we saw more champions start to rise up. We saw EBI arrive. We saw CJJ, Eddie Bravo hosting his own tournaments and, submission only. We saw the rise of Tony Ferguson, one of Eddie's first UFC champion that he got. So we see a long list of very, very significant moments in Eddie's, and not only Eddie, but in 10th Planet's history that just grew the sport. Before EBI and CJJ, there weren't really any big no-gi jiu-jitsu tournaments. It was just ADCC. Eddie came in and said, F it, we're doing sub only, okay? And there's not going to be any draws. We're going to have a winner. We're going to have EBI OT. We're going to have a rear naked shootout. We're going to see who's the best jiu-jitsu, right? Also, along with that, again, he said all leg locks legal, everything legal, every submission legal. So we saw the growth of the leg lock game after these EBI tournaments. Guys were able to go in, sit guard, and play off guard the whole time. Enter the legs, enter the attacks. And we saw the growth of Gary Tonin, Gordy Ryan, Eddie Cummings, and the Danaher Death Squad. Along with them, we saw the growth of the 10th Planet competitors. Gio Martinez, we saw Richie Martinez, the Freak Brothers, go out there and kill it in EBI and CJJ. Keith Krikorian, a long list of guys coming out, from all over. Nathan Orchard. Obviously, the CJJ team dual battles. So, again, just constantly evolving, constantly adding. The CJJ as well, adding the strikes, adding the strikes to sub only, making sure we're keeping the guard honest. You can't just sit in the guard and just chill out. You got to be able to move when strikes are involved. And, this is, again, why we love the 10th Planet system so much, because we're constantly moving, we're constantly growing, and we'll continue to do that in the next 20 years and beyond. We're never going to stay stagnant. We're never going to just be in a place where we're complacent. We're going to continue to try to be better and better and better, and never just, try to always keep it entertaining. Always try to give the audience the entertainment value of jiu-jitsu that they deserve, because I think a lot of folks when they watch jiu-jitsu, especially in the gi, especially when they're not educated in the sport, that they don't really have the excitement factor that you'd want to have in any sport. Eddie Bravo is bringing the excitement factor to no-gi jiu-jitsu. And even though Eddie is not as focused on MMA anymore, he's still focused on jiu-jitsu, of course, but more so on the no-gi sub-only rule set. We still have the soldiers out there, like Coach Casey, myself, a few other, Coach Herzog over in New York. We're all still working to try to bring up strong MMA fighters and still trying to make a name for ourselves in the MMA community. So we've got guys in the sub-only community. We've got guys doing the IBJJF tournaments. We got guys in the MMA tournaments. So 10th Planet's name is super strong, worldwide known, over 150 schools worldwide, almost 300 black belts worldwide. And we're here today, strong as can be, and it's just amazing to see. I'm so, so proud to be a part of this community. This last weekend was just a culmination of all of the work all the teams have put in, bringing us all together, showing solidarity, showing that we all wanted to continue the growth of this great organization. And we're going to keep it moving, guys. So you guys who are listening, who are part of the team, you guys are just as much a part of it, whether it be big or small. I want you guys to remember the significance of being a part of this team, the history of this team, and remember that this is something that is nowhere near at the end. I think Jean-Jacques said, end means energy never dies, right? It's some acronym. We're never going to die. We're never going to be stopping this. We're going to keep it pushing. We're going to keep going until the day we die, and then just pass it on to the next generation, passing on to the next generation. All the kids out there who are training 10th Planet at these young stages, you guys are going to be the one carrying the mantle when you're grown, when you're up there, whether it be on competition fields or whether it be on the streets using your self-defense, or whether you use it in we have guys out there working in the military. We have Brian Beaumont working with the Border Patrol, CIA, all that stuff. We're having self-defense getting taught to so many different aspects, police departments. We want to keep this growing. We want to keep this team strong, continue to do what you guys can to support, whether even if it's just little us posting on your social media, buying merchandise, making sure you're supporting your teammates, being out there. This is something that I'm super passionate about. I will continue to be passionate about. 10th Planet has changed my life for the better, and I hope it can do the same for all you guys out there who are listening, because there is something special about this community that I am not taking for granted. I am not taking it lightly, and I hope you guys understand the significance of being a part of the team that we have. It's a very, very good, strong community of killers out there practicing killing every day, no gi all day, worldwide, and again, it's just great to see. So a lot of stuff I spoke about again just now, and I hope again you guys understand where I'm coming from. I'm just so happy to see that we've been so strong. I never would have imagined we'd take it this far. I never would have imagined. Also, I was able to get my first degree promotion this past weekend. I never thought I'd even be a black belt, and here I am now on my first degree, and I'm just going to keep it going. I'm going to get as many degrees as I can. I hope to be one of the red belts in 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu and get that red belt eventually and start working for that journey, that step in my life where I'm going to start working towards being able to share this worldwide with so many parts. I hope to bring it out to other countries in the Philippines. I hope to bring it out to other nations and, bring champions into this association. So a lot of things, a lot of goals on my list. I hope you guys have some goals on your list that I can help you achieve and conquer. And again, even if it's as little as words of encouragement, those things go a long way. Little comments, little words of wisdom can go a long way, even from the strangest sources. So, Mark, anything you want to say about the 10P group and the society before we close out for today's podcast?
Just that 10P changed my life. I'm so glad that you opened up Daly City.
Yes, I am as well.
Forever changed my life. Appreciate you. Appreciate Eddie. Appreciate the whole system. Love it so much.
Yeah, and appreciate all you guys who are supporting, who are continuing to be a part of the family. You guys are very important parts of this. We would not be here and not be able to do this without the support of a community, of a family. You guys just got to keep it pushing, stay consistent, train hard, do all the good stuff. And again, we'll get you guys to that point. And eventually, Eddie was saying it during promotion day. He had shout out to all the guys who got promoted to black belt recently. And he was saying it all just comes down to consistency. If you show up, you train, you keep going, you'll eventually be a black belt. It's not about who's best. It's about who's left on the mat. So with that, we'll close it out for the day, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. We'll be back soon. Content coming out soon for the YouTube channel. So stay tuned for that. We're going to get on that soon for you guys. And yeah, we'll keep it pushing, guys. Take it easy, train hard, and I'll see you guys on the next one.